So, Iain, tell me what or maybe who first inspired you to get into music?
Wow, there are probably a lot of different moments along the way of my childhood that inspired me. I grew up in a very musical family, was dragged along to many different locations along with my parents and my brothers to sing and at quite a young age. So I was kind of used to seeing my parents up singing and my dad playing guitar and my mum playing accordion, and we'd be chipping around the place doing that all the time. So that, I guess, that sort of made that a normality, and then, my brother got heavily into the sort of great indie music of the kind of later 80s and early 90s, and that would have had a real influence on me as well. Just him sort of having this burgeoning vinyl collection of great records. But I just fell in love with the guitar around the age of 13 as well.
And did your other family members play professionally?
My dad produced some records, and it wasn't his day job, but he did a lot of it for the love, but would vocal arrange for vocal harmony groups, and he was always busy with some kind of musical project, but it was neither their main job. My mum taught a lot of music, so she was a school teacher and did a lot of music teaching at school, but no, there weren't any professional musicians until I showed up in the family.
Okay. So you, I think your recording career kicked off in the mid-90s, and you made 2 solo albums, and then you were touring. Just tell me how that came about.
So I went to uni. I kind of realised that I needed to buy myself some time, and went to university. Did okay there, but utilised a lot of that time to write and record some songs of my own. I've been playing in a bunch of different bands in Belfast and around Northern Ireland, and I kind of wrote and demoed this sort of clutch of songs of my own as well, and kind of liked the autonomy of making music as a singer-songwriter as well, alongside the various other projects I had going on. And I played a festival called Greenbelt Festival, like over the summer at the tail end of my, just as I left university, and met a record label, went to Glasgow, made 2 records in quick succession, and went out on tour, kind of with legends, people who I was just, enthralled to, like John Martin, who was a massive influence on me, and Nils Lofgren, who I loved through his own work and his work with Bruce Springsteen, and Neil Young, so I like kind of mind-blowing experiences for a kid in his early 20s.
Yeah, it's quite a start, isn't it, to hang out with those guys? I mean, did they kind of help you and mentor you at all?
Yeah, you might call it that. It was, I mean, they were very, very generous taking me on the road, and sort of taking me under their wing in a way, as a support act, you've got to really, really tread very, very gently in terms of making introductions, but by the end of those tours, I was spending time picking both John and Nils's brains, asking Nils about after the gold rush, you're just kind of, and sitting having a whiskey with John, and he's singing Spencer the Rover in my ear, so and sharing a couple of moments on stage as well, where really, really treasured moments where I'd come out and do something with them, so in those ways, they definitely, really, really kind of opened my eyes and inspired me to what was possible. And seeing, you can't underestimate seeing those kind of performances night after night, those kind of performers perform night after night as well, how much that, and the bands that play with them, the great musicians, how much that kind of just sparks your imagination.
Brilliant. So then you ended up linking up with Snow Patrol, and that was to do with with their drummer, I think, was it?
Well, yeah, like back when I was in Belfast during my kind of uni days before, it was like playing with quite a number of different bands and starting bands, and just experimenting with music a lot and doing my solo stuff. And so Johnny, who's drummer of Snow Patrol in those Belfast days, we played in a lot of those various situations together, and were thick as thieves. We lived in the same house. We were, sort of lived our sort of Belfast student days together and played a lot of music. And at one given point, when Snow Patrol weren't even called Snow Patrol, but they signed an indie deal in Scotland as well, and they gave Johnny a shout and asked him to come and play with them. They were called Polar Bear at the time. So they went on the road, and I went on the road, and a few years later, I'm living in London, and Johnny called me up and said, hey, the band, I'd seen the band many times at that point. I'd gone to see Johnny play. He just called me to say they had a TV show the next day, and they needed a guitarist to play live the camera, So I ducked down to this London TV show, played with the band, and we, the rest of the band and I as well struck up a really, really keen friendship, which really lasts to this day. We're very, very good friends and close pals, and so I stuck around for a while and made a little bit of music.
So I think you were, that's a bit of an understatement, you were heavily involved, I believe, in the Final Straw album, which I think was the kind of breakthrough record, wasn't it, for the band? And you were involved in the writing of that. But I was reading somewhere that the writing happened during sound checks more than Iain Archer turns up with a song and offers it to the band. So you just tell us how you got involved in Final Straw, how you got involved in particularly the writing in that.
I mean, the way that a lot of music comes together for bands in that way is by playing together, and you form the fabric of the bedrock of songs and the feel of those songs from almost the earth up. And if I'm working with young bands these days, I'll do very, very similar things where it's start the thing by playing, by playing as a unit. Yeah. So both in a very, very cold little Glasgow rehearsal room and on the road. We were on the road supporting Ash on their Free All Angels tour. Yeah. In between sort of writing and demoing sessions in this little West End Glasgow studio, and we'd be concocting the songs in that little rehearsal space, studio space, and then we'd be ducking out to open up for Ash in bigger rooms, lots of sort of arenas and university venues, but those bigger venues, which we weren't playing at that time, we were getting the opportunity as a support act to play them, gives a chance to sort of road test these songs that had a broader scope. They had a sort of ambition about them, and those rooms and those sound checks, we weren't necessarily playing the songs at the shows. We didn't know them well enough, but in the rooms, in sound checks, we'd sound check with some of these new tunes, and it gives a sense of space and width. But as songwriters, as a band, you're initially starting with the whole sound of the thing, But I can't underestimate how amazing a songwriter Gary is, and how privileged I was to collaborate with him. It's he's a monumentally brilliant songwriter himself. But that's the beautiful thing about being a collaborative songwriter, is getting the opportunity to work and soak up, what it is that makes other people tick, and how other brilliant, manifoldly gifted people write. So it's always a great part of being a songwriter. Okay,
and it seems to me that you then made your own decision to leave Snow Patrol just as they were breaking into the big time. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know if it just as they were breaking into the big time, but we'd worked on a bunch of those songs for Final Straw. The band were going back on the road. I'd had a solo career for quite some time, and I guess, you know, that I was much more of an autonomous kind of entity. And still am to this day.
Yeah.
You know, so probably that drove that decision a lot more than anything. I love the band and still go. You know, we toured America together. I played a number of different shows with them over the last number of years. So we really, really musically cohese. But I think I've always been a little bit of a, you know, I've liked to kind of pursue lots of different creative paths and sonic visions. So that was probably the driving force behind that.
Okay, and indeed you then went off and recorded some more solo albums. Did you have an existing record contract at the time, or did you need to go and find a new one?
So with Snow Patrol, I'd also been involved with a side project that Gary had called the Reindeer Section. I'd been playing guitar, playing steel guitar on those records, and the record company that were releasing the Reindeer Section albums signed me to their label. Okay. And I put out, I guess, a couple of albums on that label in various forms. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the Reindeer Section there. So you also were part of another supergroup, Tired Pony. So how do these supergroups come about, Ian? How does it? You know, it's amazing that the people you work with, members of REM and.
I'm honestly, I'm so fortunate to hang around Gary Lightbody, to be honest.
Okay.
Are his brain children, you know, and like, just what a phenomenal force of nature in Glasgow that Gary was to go to all of those various brilliant musicians, you know, and pull them together, you know, people from bands like Bell and Sebastian and Astrid and Teenage Fan Club, and you know, you can go around the whole cohort that we're all hanging out, and Mogwai, you know, there was just an amazing array of brilliant musicians on those records, and honestly down to Gary, just going out and being as respected as he is. But same thing with Tired Pony. So with Tired Pony, we were on tour as Snow Patrol reworked, and at the end of that tour, Richard Coburn, from the drummer from Bell and Sebastian, the wonderful Rico, was on the tour as well, and Gary and my wife Miriam as well. And Gary said to us, "I want to make a record, and I think Peter Buck's going to be part of the part of the band. I want to start a band, and it's going to have a kind of some mid-Atlantic, you know, twist. A band with very much a kind of Americana, but Celtic Americana thing, you know." And we tipped off to Portland, Oregon very quickly after that, and made the record, and made the first record in 9 days. So it was real blizzard of great music making.
Incredible. And did a Tired Pony still a thing, or indeed the Reindeer Section?
I mean, I think it's there's always a possibility with Tired Pony that something could happen down the line, but when you're trying to align, you know, probably six or seven different people's calendars who are all extremely busy with you know, global projects, it can be quite challenging. And it's really about there being a window around those schedules, you know, for that to occur. So, well, you know, we'll watch that space. Okay.
So I want to ask you a bit about your producing. So you turned to music production, and I imagined that you were involved with Jake Bugg perhaps from the very start of his recording career, because you were involved in his first album, weren't you? So how did you get into producing, particularly in other people? And tell me a little bit about
It was always something that I really loved and enjoyed, even though for many, many years I was not a professional record producer. From a teenager, I had a cassette 4-track, and I was experimenting with multi-track recording since I can remember, and was fascinated by it. So it's been something I've been really, really excited about, and always avidly learning more and more about. But around the time when I made a record called Flood the Tanks, it probably would have been early 2000s, and I had a limited album budget left. That I thought the record was finished, and it wasn't. And I could book another week in the studio, or I could buy a load of gear, really professional recording equipment, and just figure it out myself. And I chose the latter option, which kind of probably sent me incredibly crazy for about a year trying to figure the whole thing out.
Okay.
But what it did do was allow me to finish and mix a lot of that record, and then also set myself up with the skills to use digital audio workstations. They're really high level, So yeah, from then on, I was producing my own records or co-producing them, and then really eager to work with other, as I'd always been eager to work with other artists, So yeah, you were saying about Jake, really Jake and I teamed up through a publishing company actually that we're both signed to, and Jake was 16 years old, and he recorded a clutch of songs, a couple of songs, very sort of forlorn finger picking ballads, and sounded amazing. And when I heard and saw what he was doing, I just wanted to jump in with both feet, and, see if we could create something amazing together. Which
you did.
which it feels like I really love the records that I worked on with Jake. Actually, I feel like we did something really special together.
Okay, so I'd missed him as an artist, and then I got into watching Happy Valley, and I just thought the first time I watched an episode of Happy Valley, because of all the hype around it. Not the music in Happy Valley, I mean in the series Happy Valley. Totally, I thought that's an incredible tune, and then is that what he sounds like? And then it was like, this is good. Anyway, So you also work with James Bay. I probably taking up too much of your time. Maybe for our listeners, your liaison with Liam Gallagher would be particularly interesting. So, did he come looking for you, or did you offer your services to him?
Again, there are people in the industry who, generally they're called A&R people, and a big part of their skill set is knowing different characters and their musical character, and coming up with brainwaves of like, I bet if I teamed that person and that person up, something cool would happen. That's a lot of the time A&R people are working on that level, and they create magical circumstances for people to interconnect and start to share ideas. So one very, very well-known legendary A&R guy, Mike Smith, just called up of one day and said, we fancy working with Liam, and so I chipped up to Liam's flat and hung out with him for an afternoon. He played me a bunch of songs, and we got on brilliantly. He's like great character, great person to be around, and so after that, I said I loved the material that he was writing, and we hatched a plan and got in the studio for a number of days and worked on a few tracks.
And
really special time.
How did it feel, sort of meeting him for the first time? Were you confident and comfortable with that? Because I wouldn't be.
I think, I've spent a lot of time around, even from those early days, I spent a lot of time around very, very well-known and very, very accomplished artists, and, spending time around someone like John Martin, and being able to, exist in those environments.
Yeah.
Sort of tease you up for something.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm more curious than anything else. It's curiosity that gets the better of me. So I'm really curious to know who someone is, what makes them tick, how they came to sound the way they sound or do the thing they do. So I'm always full of questions, and there's always something that I'm eager to bring as well. You know, I think there's no point in showing up in those kind of spaces unless you really, really believe that you have something that is going to elevate or enhance or help. You know, yeah, that's a big part of showing up.
Okay. So
we had a lot of laughs. The other side of that as well with Liam is that Snow Patrol, Gary's guitar tech, Coatsy, who travels with Snow Patrol, is a very, very young childhood friend of Liam's, and they're almost like the same character.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time around Coatsy, so when I met Liam, I was like, oh, you're basically Coatsy in other shoes.
So you were well ready for Liam. So Liam, in a kind of George Harrison-ish sort of way, has lived very much in the shadow, hasn't he? Did you find that he was confident musically?
Yeah, definitely confident musically, and brilliant as well.
Okay.
And that is the part that, you know, maybe doesn't get as much attention as it should. Is like Liam's a brilliant songwriter and has written some brilliant Oasis songs, and yeah, really, really, really wonderful songs on that record as well.
I suppose his Oasis stuff is hidden on the later albums, which don't get nearly as much attention, do they?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But they deserve attention, you know, because he's a talented songwriter.
Iain, I nearly called you Liam then. Iain, I've skipped over lots of questions actually, but I need to ask you about the gig. So you're coming to Leeds on the 29th of August. Tell us what people expect. Will it just be you playing by yourself, or perhaps will your wife come along, or some other band members?
Well, Miriam and my wife, do play shows together, but she can't make it for this one. So yeah, I have played many kind of solo shows over the years. I really enjoy that singer-songwriter, one-man the guitar experience. Tend to bring a bunch of guitars with me, to be honest, because I like to make many different sounds with them, and guitar playing is a very big part of that performance as well. Okay. So I'll bring an array of guitars, and then be playing material that some of the bigger songs for sure will make an appearance, and then, you know, sort of some hand-picked tunes from various solo records of mine, and yeah, who knows what will crop up along the way. I mean, it can be a little impromptu.
I was going to say, do you start the evening with a firm set list, or does it just kind of happen as you go?
I have a very scrawled set list, you know. I can squint at and try to figure out what. So it can go awry, and I'll kind of follow the pace of the evening, you know. Okay. But I it's about really creating versions of some of those bigger songs that really work in those settings. So I like to kind of reinvent a few things, and I really enjoy, you know, bringing out a few of the various guitars that I have in the studio that is literally sort of packed with a lot of instruments that make a lot of different sounds, and some lovely amps. So I just gotta pick out what I'm gonna bring, and to concoct some
brilliant and is
concoct some good noise.
Great. Is Leeds part of a wider tour then?
No. Okay. Just got an invite to play. I'm kind of just coming back out of my shell, I guess, back out of being a studio mouse and playing a few shows. I played a anniversary show in Belfast of my first record earlier this year, and I think this will be the third show this year, so it's a real rarity that I'm
Okay.
out at the moment. But it's really lovely to get the invite to come and play, and I'm kind of into the idea of making another record for myself and going back out on the road. So it's nice to come out and play some shows and road test a couple of new songs as well.
Okay, because it's a long time. I think from my research, which has been based around Wikipedia, so it may not be entirely accurate, but it's been a long time since you released a solo album. So
It's really long. Don't tell me how many.
okay, I've got a figure in my head, but I won't quote it then.
It's a really long time, but it's funny, because it's a really lovely problem to have when you keep getting, I keep getting opportunities to work with really, really brilliant artists, and those and often when you take on album projects, they can take years or more than a year or 2 years to make, so solo records of my own can sometimes go on the back burner for a long time.
I mean, do you have like hundreds of songs that you've written since your last solo release that are just, I don't know, on a hard drive somewhere?
I do have a lot of songs. Yeah, I have a lot of songs on a hard drive. Yeah.
It's going to be an amazing new album then, because it's going to be sort of the greatest hits of the last 20 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
There are a lot of songs.
Okay.
But we just got to figure out how relevant they are. I don't know. But yeah, something will happen. I just got to carve out. I keep talking about it and not doing it, carving out the time, But it is it's a good problem to have whenever you can't find the time to be able to make that record, because there are a lot of other.
So when Jake and Peter Buck and Liam Gallagher come knocking, you'll have to say, "No, I'm working on my own album now," and just make them wait, won't you?
And sometimes you just got to do that, But
Okay.
I've just finished a beautiful record with Tom Smith, who's a singer from Editors, and co-written and co-produced that. The new single was out last Friday, which is called Life is for Living. So, and that album's coming out in December. So that's been a real labour of love for the last year.
And would you allow yourself to play songs like that in your own solo live set?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I mean, these days, I think for a period of time, I didn't play many of the songs that I'd written with and for other people. But these days, I kind of just really, really enjoy bringing those songs out and playing them in my own way, and finding them for myself. So, yeah.
It's going to be a great night, the 29th. I'm looking forward to it very much. I've got one final question for you, Iain, then I'll leave you in peace. And you can go back and, work on your solo album or ring up Liam or something. In Wikipedia, it says that you were a visiting professor. I should have called you Professor Archer, shouldn't I? To Leeds College of Music in 2016. So you're a teacher and you're a professor of the art as well.
Well, I've found myself in various educational settings. I taught at Brighton Institute of Modern Music for a number of years as well, and I'm a fellow of the Seamus Heaney Creative Writing Centre in Belfast as well, and was visiting professor at Leeds, and I really love those environments, especially getting people talking about music and sharing ideas. It's not dissimilar, to be honest, to being in a writing session. Because creative arts are not about any hard and fast and hard and set rules. They're much more kind of full of principles that you can adhere to or not adhere to at any given point. And I really enjoy just spending time around younger writers, younger artists, and helping them develop what they do. So if that's within an educational setting, I really love doing that too.
Okay, well, I hope Alan introduces you as Professor Archer on the 29th.
Yeah, I'll bring my glasses, bring my spectacles.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Iain. I'm going to stop recording now, but thanks very much for talking to